Hey guys, it's Coach Carroll here again with a YouTube video to guide you through Lab 10, Exercise 1. So this lab is going to show you how to make assembly drawings. This will be very, very important for your group project that you're working on. Hopefully you're seeing some fun applications with this drawing program of how to actually take something that you see that's a common object and how to actually draw that in this software. Now, it's more than just drawing, okay? We actually want to document and be very organized in how do we show how many parts are in an assembly, how do we document the geometry of those parts so someone can go make them. Maybe these assembly drawings can be used for assembly instructions, repair instructions, lots of different things that we've talked about in lecture already. Okay, so in this lab, here's the lab document that we'll be working with, and you should download this socket driver assembly here. It's a zipped file that's on Moodle, so I've already downloaded that, and I put everything in a folder specifically for Lab 10 here. So I made a folder for Lab 10. Now let me say this, that when you're working on your project, you need to stay very organized with where all your parts for the assembly are located. And the reason I say that is because you'll have drawings, you'll have assemblies that all refer back to parts. So if those assembly files or those drawing files are in different folders than your parts, then you're going to have a very, then it won't work. Your assembly files won't be able to find the parts that it references, and the same for your drawing files as well. Okay, so make sure you stay very organized and you only have the parts of those, or the parts, the assemblies, the drawings that all go together within a folder that doesn't have anything else in it. No selfie pictures from the weekend, no English papers that you're writing, doesn't matter, only files for that assembly. Okay. Alright, so here's the zipped folder, but before I work with it, you need to extract all the files in there. So just right click, select on extract all, and hit OK to extract that, and notice it just made a folder here that now has these parts in it. Okay, so that's what we're working with. Let's first just open up the assembly. So just go to File, Open, and go find this assembly that I just extracted. Alright, let's open up this assembly. And let's just take a look at it and really see what we're trying to document in this drawing. Okay, it's a simple nut driver is what I call it. This blue part here is a socket that would fit onto the nut. This socket, I've constrained it to fit onto the head here. Now on this head are these little rubber sleeves, let's call them, that would just give the person's hand protection and some comfort as they're trying to turn the socket here. Alright, so these sleeves are constrained to the head as well. Now one neat thing I want to show you is just how you can kind of inspect a assembly by looking at a section view of it here in the assembly environment. So if you go to the View tab, click on the drop down arrow here where it says quarter section view. I want a half section view. Alright, so now I'm going to select some plane. It could be either this plane. Let's select this plane here. That's the end face of the socket right there. Click on that, and now when you click on it, there's this brown arrow that pops up. And the good thing with that is I can click on it, hold down, and then drag. And wherever I drag this, it'll give me a section view of the assembly just from wherever that plane cuts through the assembly. So I show you this just to see how these plastic handles fit onto the end here. Okay, so that's just a neat trick to see the excuse me. Anyway, just a neat trick there to see the what the inside of the assembly looks like. Alright, so I'll just click on the X. I don't want to keep that. I was just doing it to show you. Okay, so now let's make the drawing that documents this. Alright, here is the drawing template that I've uploaded onto Moodle that has this title block that already has some smart text in it, or dynamic text as I call it, that updates based on whatever parts or assemblies you put in here. Okay, but you can always edit this title block as you need. Okay, one of the first drawings I'm going to make is one that has a section view in it. Okay, so let's go to the base view. Remember, the base view is kind of the main view that you want to show of a part or an assembly. Now I'll click on this open existing file, and now instead of selecting a part now, okay, I'm not actually making a drawing to dimension these parts, but to show how do these parts fit together. That's what the assembly is. So I'll click on that and click open. Alright, this first view, there's several different options here. I'm going to make a front view at first, but this is not the front. I want the socket to kind of be facing me. So let's look at some of these other views. How about a top? No, not that. Bottom, that's it. That's what I want at first. Okay. Now again, this is not just the only way to do it, but the reason I'm selecting this, I'll show you here in a little bit. Okay, now let's think about the scale. Is 1:1 okay? So remember, this is an A4 size sheet of paper, so that's how big the assembly is in reference to an A4 size piece of paper. What if I went, let's scale it down by half? That's too small. You don't want that. 2:1, that's too big. It won't even fit on the piece of paper. 1:1 is okay for this one. Alright. So I'll click one time now, and I could even drag up here. Let's do that. I'll drag up in the corner, click again, and now let's right click and hit create. Okay, now this isometric view, I'm going to turn it to where it's nice and colorful. So put my cursor over that view to where the red dotted line pops up, and double click so I can just edit that view, and let's turn the color on here. So select this style marker, click OK, and you can see it just added the color to that, which is nice for the isometric view, really for all of the assembly views if possible here. So I'm going to turn this to color as well. Okay, there you go. Okay, now I could maybe just call it quits here, but it would be nice to show a section view of this assembly to see how these plastic parts fit on, and even how the socket fits onto the head. So the reason I gave this particular view as the base view, because then it would be very nice to make a section view of this. You say, what if I didn't make a section view? Well, I couldn't go to a projected view. So let's project a view from this base view. So click on that and then drag up. I'm not holding the mouse down. Then I click again, I right click and hit create. Okay, so now I've made another view there. Let's drag this out of the way for a second. I've made another view here. Okay, but it would be nice if this view was a section view so I could see where these handles end inside of the sleeves. Okay, so let's not do that. I don't want that. Yes, let's delete that. I'm sorry how I did that. I just click on the view and click on the delete button and then hit OK. Alright, so I'm going to make a section view. So click on section up here and now select this view. So I'm just clicking the view. Now I want the section view to go right through the middle. like this. So I'm going to put my cursor here and notice that green dot pops up. That's a green dot for the middle of this line here. That's the end. But I don't want my section view to start here. I want my section view to actually start somewhere out here. But notice that horizontal dotted line that pops up, and that's good. It says this is horizontal from this point here. Alright, so notice I haven't clicked yet. I'm going to start it here, so click one time and let go. Now just move your cursor over this way. It'll snap horizontal. Okay. Click another time, and now I will right click and hit continue. So now I can drag this way. Okay, it doesn't matter. Let's drag it up here on top and place the section view there. Alright. Now I can click and drag this up if I would like. I'm going to actually edit this text here, so move my cursor to where it's red, double click, and I want to remove the scale here. Okay. Alright, let's remove the scale. Now, so it just tells me what section this is. Now, the reason I did this then, it clearly shows how far the head here, the socket driver, fits onto the socket, and how far these handles fit onto these sleeves here. Okay, so it gives a clear documentation of that. Now, one thing to notice here, the A is outside of the border, so I need to move this view in a little bit. So let's drag it in. That's good there. Let's move it a little closer. Alright, now one problem, I don't have enough room to fit this guy. Alright, so what can I do? Well, I could just make this view a little smaller up here. So let's double click on that view. Let's change the scale. Let's see, about a half. See what that does. That's okay. Made it a little small. I can double click on it. Let's make it a little bigger. So I'm going to click again in here, and then I can hit backspace and actually change this. Let's make it to, let's say, a 1 to 1.5. Hit OK. That's a little bigger there. That's nice. So now I've shown a section view. Here's a section view based on a front view, so I can see how these parts fit together, and this is a nice isometric view. Alright, so that's one drawing that I'll do, but I'm going to make another one which actually has a parts list in it. Okay, in these assembly drawings, guys, don't try to fit everything onto one drawing. Make more drawings than necessary if you need to, okay, so things are very clear and they don't get crowded. Alright, now one thing I need to do, I have not done anything with the title block down here. Alright, now notice, why is material not updated? Well, because this assembly has different parts in it that are made out of different materials, so maybe this material section of the title block does not really apply for assemblies. What about dimensions? Well, that doesn't really apply either as well, because the purpose of this drawing is not for dimensioning, is just to show how the parts fit together. Alright, I can put my major down here. Let's do that. So I'm going to do that just by adding a text box on top of this title block. So go to annotate, select on text, and then just drag a little box for the text box. And then my major is mechanical engineering, and I'll click on the center horizontally and center vertically, and click OK. So there's that. I can put a title here as well. So let's say socket driver assembly section. Okay. Now notice it moves it onto 2 lines, probably because the text is a little too big. So I can highlight it. Let's just make the text a little smaller here. What if it's, I don't know, 2.8 millimeters? There you go. Now I'll click escape to get out of my text tool here. Click escape, and then when I've done that I can drag this around, right, to make sure that's in the center. Very good. Alright, notice my the author is already there, but did I type this in? No, I did not type that in. So where did it get this information of Joseph Ray Carroll, PhD? How did it know I did this? How did it know that I'm the author? Well, we can see, let's, under the browser over here, here's the sheet that we're working on. There's a border, and then here's the title block. So let's right click on the title block and click edit definition, and look here, the author is in these little brackets here. I can double click on that, and it gets this author from the properties of the model. The model would be whatever your part or symbol you're putting in to this drawing here, and I pulled out this iProperty of author. Okay, so this text will automatically update to whoever the author is for the parts in the assembly. Alright, so it just updated that automatically. Company is not filled in. Okay, notice maybe for this assembly, if I didn't want to show this material text box, and here is where I could edit that. I could click there and I could delete it if I wanted to, because material doesn't apply for an assembly. Okay. Alright, now let's finish that sketch. No, I don't want to edit that title block. Okay, now let's make sure to save this, guys. That's actually a mistake by me. I should have done this much earlier. Sorry about that. I'm forgetful. Make sure to save your work early and often. So go to File, Save As. Let's make this in Lab 10, in the socket driver file here. I'm going to name this assembly drawing. Alright. Now notice the file extension is IDW file. So it already, that IDW file tells me that it's a drawing file already. Alright, so let's put assembly drawing, hit save. And hit yes to all here. What this does, this is very similar to or you saw this dialog box when we saved assemblies, and the yes to all means that it will even save changes to the part itself if any changes were made. Yes to all, and hit OK. OK again there. Alright, think about it. Okay, so there's one drawing. Now I want to make another one that shows an exploded view that we talked about in class, but that's still a drawing that documents this assembly. So rather than making a whole new drawing file, what we need to do is just add another sheet to this drawing document, let's say. Okay, so notice up here in the browser, I can even minimize the sheet 1 here, and here's the assembly drawing file. This is the title of the file. I can right click here and then click new sheet. Okay, and look at what it does is it just brings up a new sheet. Now, so what this, notice sheet 1 is grayed out now, and I'm just working on sheet 2. So this is very nice to do if you're documenting an assembly or even a part where you have multiple drawings to document the same thing. So for example, I'm going to have 2 drawings here to document one assembly. So rather than making 2 separate drawing files, I just put 2 sheets in the one file. Okay, now I could double click here on the sheet 1 and it will bring me back to this sheet. And notice down here it says sheet 1 of 2, so it tells me there's 2 sheets already. Now I can double click on sheet 2 to go back to edit that. Okay. Now in this I want to make an exploded view, but Autodesk Inventor has another file type specifically to make an exploded view. So I'll show you how to do that. Go up here to File and New, and It's called a presentation file. So drag down. So remember guys, we've made parts, we've looked how to make assemblies, we're looking at how to make drawings now, but there's a fourth file type here called a presentation. And notice the purpose of it, if I drag out here, is to create an exploded projection of an assembly. So click on a standard millimeter presentation and click on create there. Alright, now this view is pretty basic. Notice there's not much options up here. The first thing it says is to create a view, the first option. So I'll click on create view. Click on this open existing file here, and I want to create a view from this assembly. So select that and hit OK. Hit open. Make sure this is set to manual. Okay, and I'll show you that later. So hit right there. So it's put in this assembly. I can rotate it around and look at it. Okay, now what this is for tweaking the parts or moving the parts away so I can clearly see how they fit. So let's manually do that. Click on tweak component here. Okay, now the first thing it wants me to do is select a direction. So what I'm going to do is, let's say this first one, I want to take this socket and drag it out here. So the direction, if I put my cursor over a plane here, I could put it over this surface. You see these X, Y, and Z directions that pop up. So, and it's different for whatever I select. If wherever I click, I haven't clicked yet, it would just give me the option to move that socket in either the X, Y, or Z directions as this is shown. So I'll click this face. So click one time, and the blue Z is already highlighted for me. So that's saying I want to transform, I want to slide this in the Z direction, which is already selected. Now I'm going to click on the part I want to drag. So click and hold, and then just drag the part out here. Let's drag it out about this far, nice and comfortable distance, and release. And notice this little blue line that was made. So I can hit close there. And notice I've just added a tweak. So look here in my browser, if I expand the explosion view, here's the assembly, here's the socket, let's expand that, and there's that tweak view. I just moved it 33.961 millimeters. I could edit that. How far? And let's change that to maybe 35 millimeters, and it changes the distance, maybe 10, whatever. I'll change it back to 30 here. Okay. Now go do the same thing for these two sleeves. All right. So let's go to tweak component. On the direction, I want to slide the sleeve out to the left there, so I'll just click here. The Z is already selected for me, and that's okay, that's good. So I'm going to click and hold and slide this out. All right. Now if you wanted to slide in actually more than one direction, so I made that slide. Now what if I wanted to slide up? I could click direction again, and then let's say select something here. I could make now the Y direction. So see, I can select what direction I want to move it, X, Y, or Z. Okay, so let's say the Y direction. Now I could click and hold and drag this up. Okay, and now it added a leader up. Now I could click doesn't matter, the X direction, drag it over this way, Z direction, drag it that way. So that would be close that. That's a complicated leader line, right? I don't need that, but if your assembly is more complicated, maybe you need one to show where it fits in a nice way. All right, so here's all these tweaks I just did. I don't want all of them. This one here, that's the last one. Let's just delete that. Okay. Now this tweak, notice, is highlighting in red when I'm tweaking. I don't want that tweak either. I'm just going to get rid of these other tweaks that I did. So I'm just right-clicking on the tweak and click delete. Alright, so finally go tweak this last component, no, the last sleeve. Tweak, direction, select this face, let's say. It doesn't matter, I could select this face. Okay, there you go, the Z is already highlighted. Click, hold down, and drag it out. There we go. It's okay. Now hit close. Now let's save this file. Okay, so I'll click File, Save there. Notice the file extension is IPN. That's a presentation file. So I'm just going to name this Assembly 1 dash Explosion View, and save that there. Okay, so now the purpose of this presentation file was to make this type of exploded view. Before I leave this, just one thing on this: you could actually make a video then that shows how to put the assembly together from these tweaked views. If I clicked on animate here, I believe I'll just click play, see what happens. Yeah, notice, look what it's doing. It's playing my tweaks in reverse order to how I applied them. So this is nice because you could do this to actually show a very complex assembly order of a complex assembly. So you could clearly see more than just pictures, but you could see a video of how these parts fit together. All right. Okay, so I've got that view, I've saved it. Okay, now let's come back to my drawing file here, and I want to place that view in this drawing. So now I'll go to the base view, find this explosion file. Now it doesn't show up here. It's there, but it's not there because the file type is just set to assembly files. What if I select it to presentation files? Now here's that presentation file. Click open. Okay, this is a little small. Okay, the scale is set to 1 to 4. That's kind of small there. Let's make it, how about 1 to 1? That's a little big. How about 1 to 2? Oh, I didn't select 1 to 2. Not bad. I'm going to make it a little bigger, 1 to 1.5 maybe. There you go. Okay, now in this, I'm going to make this an isometric view here. Maybe, what if I go to ISO top left? What's one of these look like? That's not bad. If you wanted to actually change this view to, maybe one of these options is not one that you like. I don't like this option, this one. I don't like any of those options really. So what I can do is click here to change view orientation. So click on that, and then it brings you up to a view where you can change it to whatever you would like, and that is going to be the view that's inserted. I want it to be about like this. Okay, so that's the view that I want. So now hit Finish Custom View up there, and that's good. So let's select, I'm going to turn it to color. Hit OK, and right click and hit OK. Well, I've selected it out there. I can just click and drag this back in, no problem. Alright, I'm going to make this a little bigger. This is the only view I'm going to have in this drawing, so let's make it fill up the whole drawing space. So maybe let's change it 1 to 1.2. It's pretty good. I'll even make it a little bigger. Maybe 1 to 1 will work. Yeah, that's not bad there. Okay, so the purpose of this drawing then is to show these leaders of how things fit together. Okay, again, this is a simple example, but very applicable for your complex assemblies. Now, I want to put a parts list in. If I go to Manage, not Manage, I'm sorry, Annotate. Click on the Annotate tab, and up here will be Parts List. So just click on Parts List, and it wants you to select a view. Well, I'm going to click on this view here, select that, and then just hit OK. And notice when you drag your cursor around, there's this black box. All right, let's put it up here in the top corner. So click one time there, and look at what it's done. Is it's inserted a list, the parts list of what parts are in this assembly. Okay. Now I can edit this if I would like by putting my cursor over it to where it turns red. Double click on it, and let's say I maybe don't want this column that says description. Well, I can click here under column chooser and click on description, and let's remove that. Select that and now hit OK. Alright, hit OK again. Now I've just reduced it down to where it just has the item number, quantity, and the part number here. I could change the size of these columns. You can do whatever you want to this. Now again, this is different than your bill of materials. The bill of materials is a way to organize all the iProperties of the parts, where this only has selected iProperties. So again, I could double click on it. I could add several types of iProperties. I could add the author over here. Do that in, and now let's put the author for each part in here. Okay? So whatever columns are important for your drawing, whatever you think is important, if the author is important, maybe the material is important. Let's go add material. Find material, click on material, and click add. Hit OK there. And I've just added material. Okay. So let's leave that material in. At the minimum, you need to have the item number, quantity, and a part name or part number. Okay. The other things are optional, but at minimum you need those three. All right. Now I need to show, well, what is item number 1. So to do that, you add these balloons up here. Okay. So you could do it manually, or I'll show you manually. Just click here on balloon. Then you just click on the part, move your cursor, click another time, right click and hit continue, and this sleeve is number 3. Okay, so if balloon is still activated, I click anywhere. Let's click on this head, move out here, click again, right click and hit continue, and there's part 1. Okay, so notice part 1 is the head. Item number 1 is the head. Right? Do the same thing for the socket. Click one time, move out, hit continue. There you go. Pretty easy. Okay. Now you want to move you could move these around, drag it around to make sure it's in a nice place. You don't want to have these crossing the parts very far. This would be bad. Okay. If the head is here, this number should be over here like this, so the leader does not cross the part a long ways. You want the leader to fit on the edge of a part like this. Okay. Now that's what if you have, I'm going to delete these just to show you another way. Click and delete. Click on this and hit delete. You could click the drop down arrow and click on auto balloon. And because what if you have hundreds of parts? You don't want to do this manually by hand. So I clicked on auto balloon. Now that I've done that, I can actually select what parts I want to balloon. So let's say select this, 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 and this. All right, select the placement. Let's make it around. Okay, so I select the placement on a round. Notice if I zoom out here, I'm going to click on it as horizontal so you can easily see. You see these 2 previews here, and so that's where it's going to put the balloons. I can click now and click OK, and it automatically ballooned, but that actually was pretty bad automatic ballooning here. It put them in the bad spot. Okay, so maybe that wasn't a great demonstration, but the idea of that feature there to automatically balloon something is if you have hundreds of parts that you want to have it balloon automatically rather than adding them manually. Okay, but for this manual is probably good enough for most of our instances. So I'll just do it again here quickly. Let's add this, okay. Now I like to actually, so this part is number 3, but you could add a balloon down here as well, but that's really not needed because under the quantity for item number 3, which is the sleeve, the quantity already says 2, so I know there's 2 of them already. Alright, so I really don't need this other balloon, so let's delete that. Okay, so now I'll click Save here. Alright. Now I need to add, add the title of this sheet of the drawing. So under text, or click text here, add a text box, and let's make this the socket driver explosion. Socket driver exploded view. Okay. Oops, sorry, I'll double click on it again. I forgot the justification here. Let's make these centered so it's just in the center of the text box. That looks better there. Again, I'll add my major. You can do that. Major mechanical engineering. So let's change the justification to center again. Okay, very good. Notice it says sheet 2 of 2, so between this sheet here and now let's double click on sheet 1, so between this sheet and this sheet, I believe those 2 sheets fully document this assembly. It shows how they fit together from the exploded view. The exploded view is a good place to show the balloons because you can clearly see each part. And then the purpose of this is to show where, when the assembly is actually put together, how the parts fit there with this section view. Okay. All right, now a very useful thing here when you're actually giving this to someone else is to actually export it as a PDF. Okay. And the reason for that is because if I just give you this drawing file without giving you this assembly, which needs all the parts as well, it won't open. Okay, so let me show you that. I'll save that. Let's come over here. Let's take this drawing that I'm working with. Let's copy it. I'm going to move it to another folder. Let's just back it out here and paste it here. Okay. So for now, guys, sorry, before I move on and show you that, we're pretty much done. Okay, so we've fully documented this assembly. So make sure you save this. Remember, you see how I've done 2 sheets within one file, and that's very nice because I don't have 2 separate drawing files for one assembly. Okay, so this is very nice. Now the last thing I'll show you is the reason for exporting it to a PDF. Okay, so let's close this. You're done, basically done with this lab here now. Remember these presentation files, the review on that. This was the assembly file. Okay. If I so notice I copied this drawing file and moved it to another location that does not have the assembly file or the part files that actually go into this drawing. So if I double click on this drawing and try to open it, well, bad example, it knew where the parts were. Sorry about that. If I place them in another one, sorry about that. Let's copy this. Let's go put it somewhere ugly, like on the desktop. Let's see if this will work now. Okay, there you go, that worked. So what I did was I copied the drawing file. I just went and put it on my desktop. Okay, so now I tried to open this drawing file, and what does it say? It says, oh, wait a second, I don't know where the assembly file is, and I'm trying to make a drawing of the assembly file. So where'd you put it, Joe? So this is a problem. So this is why you need to have all the parts, assemblies, and drawings in the same folder so it can find where those parts or assemblies are at. Okay? So just showing you what not to do there. So cancel that. Okay, so you've finished that exercise 1. I hope you can apply the tools that we learned here in exercise 1 to your project and to practice documenting other assemblies as well. Remember, when you're documenting assemblies, make as many drawings as you need. Also make drawings for different sub-assemblies rather than trying to document every part on the same drawing. Okay, so remember, sub-assemblies, section views, exploded views, parts list. Okay, hopefully this will help you clearly define what your assembly looks like. All right, guys, have a great Christmas break. Don't work too hard, and I'll see you when I get back from the States. All right, guys.